It is the Two Guys Garage Podcast. He is Kevin Bird. I am Willie B. And today we are fired up, man. So look, it's been a busy month or so. We realized SEMA 23 seems like it was forever ago because we're putting 23 on it and it's 24 now, but it was really just about a month and a half ago. And today we'd peel a layer or two back, catch you up on what we thought was incredible with SEMA. And believe it or not, we got an insane special guest, the one and only Jeremy McGrath. And if you're a fan of Throttle Therapy, you're definitely a fan of Mr. Jeremy McGrath. So I can't wait to catch up with him. But Kev, how about SEMA 23? It was a wild one, huh?
Oh, man. You know, SEMA every year just seems to get bigger and better.
Yeah.
The builds are amazing. The talent, the quality, it just doesn't stop. Like there's a trajectory and there's no end to it, it seems like.
Right. There's no doubt, man. And I thought there was a lot of big shifts at SEMA this year. Just watching SEMA, right? So it wasn't that long ago, just a couple of years, we had all the big three. The big three were a big component, right? But now with the big three removed from the equation, it's a little different. It's wild what's taking up that void and space, and some new cars, some new builds, some new faces, some new attitude, all about SEMA.
I think a first-time attendee would probably not notice, right? Because SEMA is really about the aftermarket. True. But, when you've seen the lay of the land, right? You walk into, whatever, your old house that you grew up in, like just there's certain things about it that feel like they've always been there, right? And the big three were like the big pillars, and that's really kind of the feed point, right? The big three spit something out, right? The new Mustang, the new C6 Corvette, C8 Corvette, whatever generation. And then the aftermarket just goes nuts. And they weren't there, right? So the fountain, right? The spigot was kind of gone, but all the garden is still growing, right? Everything is still flourishing. Man. So it was weird, different, but okay, right? It's still all great.
It was wild, man, because I think it's opening up a little bit of an avenue for different platforms, different builds, different wild conceptions. Like, man, who would have ever guessed? I thought one of the wildest cars was that Mercure, that's just a wild and weird car. It had an Eco Beast in it, not an Eco Boost, but an Eco Beast. Just a wild, crazy car. And some of the other builds of old, like, Datsuns or old BMWs, I thought made a big impression. Obviously you're going to get an enormous share of, your Chevrolet, Ford, Mopar muscle cars. There's always going to be the 69 Camaro that's just over the top, and Chevelles and so forth, along with the Mustangs. And we saw several of those. One of which we sit there and we're just puzzled by the car for a good 15, 20 minutes. And some Mopars, but I think really the standout, I only saw one Charger, and that one Charger was the Ring Brothers car. Oh, and man, we'll put a little bit of time on the podcast on that thing. There only needed to be one Charger there this year. Trust me.
Well, if you had a Charger and you brought it this year with the Ring Brothers Charger there, no one would have paid any attention to it.
Right. It would have got hurt.
Because the Ring Brothers one was just so amazing. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's right at that Ring Brothers level. Those guys are top of the game. Talk about like the builds have progressed to where you need some trim molding around the front grille, right? You could use the stock one. You could modify the stock one. You could make something from scratch, or you could take an 800-pound piece of billet and trim out everything except the front grille. That's how things have gotten.
Jim was like, Willie, come here. This factory piece of 6 pieces, right? He's like, we literally took a 438 piece of billet, made this.
I know, and there's like 7 pounds left over at the end,
Right.
But that's kind of where these guys are at. Like the amount of, let's say, investment money that people are willing to spend to be bigger, better, and top of the game just allows the builders to go nuts. It's cool and it's daunting at the same time. Like you don't want it to get so far away that you don't feel connected to it. But at the same time, they deliver stuff that's just so amazing that how can you deny it,
Oh, and another thing about SEMA 23 that was so fascinating, the special guest. And we've got a great one, the one and only Jeremy McGrath, My friends, if you're into anything with a throttle on it, you're going to love Jeremy McGrath. This guy is a legend, an icon in motorsports, and we get to chat with him one-on-one. Stoked about that. It's the Two Guys Garage podcast. Yes, it is 2024. Yes, it was SEMA 23, but relax. It was just like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, no doubt. But hey, man, SEMA was awesome, like we talked about before the break. And, you run into so many great people, so many great companies, products. It's mind-blowing. You can't get it all in. But one thing I am super jealous, I ran into some great cats, right? We both kind of caught up with the Ring Brothers, so many other guys, Chip Foose, you name it. But you got to catch up with one of my heroes, Jeremy McGrath, dude. 7-time Supercross champion and Motocross champion. This guy, he's one of my favorites. He's one of the all-time legends, man. So I know you had to grow up watching him, man. So what is Jeremy McGrath to you?
Well, man, I raced pro motocross for a number of years. Most of the trophies back here are cars or motocross. The majority of them is motocross. A couple of the big ones, state championships. So for me, Jeremy McGrath, man, he's a legend. I love the old Jeremy McGrath, Jeff and McBattles. Man, he had all of us trying to do them knack-knacks, bro. You remember those step off the thing, he'd step off the bike, and he'd be like, I'm dying. And he'd get back on, he'd be like, whoa.
So have you pulled off a knack-knack?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Man,
I could go out back and do a knack-knack right now.
To think about a knack-knack. So pretty impressed. That's awesome.
Well, dude, I had a moment to catch up with him. He's there repping Maxxis tires. So Maxxis is doing a ton of stuff in the automotive side and the motocross side. We know Maxxis tire. They've been around for a minute, and they're a notorious just rough and rumble tire out in any condition, right? The King of Hammers, stuff like that. But what they're doing for motocross is banging too. And Jeremy, well, he tells us all about it, man. I get to spend like 15 minutes with this guy, and this is 15 minutes of cool, mainly on him too. Check this out. All right, you guys, man, here we are, SEMA 2023, kind of tucked away because right here, the man, the myth, the legend, I'm fired up to talk to him in the podcast, Jeremy McGrath, man. Dude, thanks so much for taking some time, bro.
Oh, man, so stoked. Nice to see
man. Now, you've been doing so much. This guy is a motorsports icon. Back in the days of motocross sports, you guys know I love motocross. Man, Jeff Emmick, right? Ricky Carmichael, those days, man, we'd be screaming at our TV like, oh, go, showtime, baby, showtime. So many of us tried the knack-knack. He really was the first guy doing that in motocross. And we'd run out to the track and step off our bike and then crash, wad up, and be like, time to do it again, man.
Yeah. So,
bro,
a lot of people hurt on the knack-knack.
Yeah. So tell us, hey, what you're doing out here. This year, I know you're a tire ambassador and a real hard racer and pusher of Maxxis. Tell us a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, so here we are, SEMA 2023. I've been working with Maxxis. I've been a brand ambassador, a racer, tire developer, sort of, jack of all trades when it comes to Maxxis. We've developed some great tires. But yeah, we're here at SEMA. I did a van build. We got the new Razor ATS on there, which is, the light truck, utility vehicle type tire, good for snow. So yeah, I'm just kind of out here representing Maxxis and just hanging out, seeing cool guys like yourself.
Well, tire technology in itself has changed so much, man. It's funny because I think a lot of people probably have a misconception of how much technology is in that tire.
Oh yeah.
Right? Whether it's sand, mud, gravel, rocks, whatever, and banging, sidewalls, lugs, and just tearing up terrain. As far as developing that, man, it takes a certain compound, certain traction, certain lug pattern to get everything biting and hooking and right. And when you do, man, you see what you guys at Maxxis are really throwing on the rigs out there that are really excelling.
Yeah, it takes, it takes a lot of time when you're developing a tire. I've developed the new Maxxis MXST, the IH, the SI for the motocross tires. We've done, 2, 3, 4 years extensive work on that stuff. And like you said, the compounds, the sidewall strengths, the different carcasses they lay, it all applies the same way when you're talking about autos, right? I mean, we've had the race truck, we've had the van. There's Maxxis, is doing extensive testing on this stuff all the time, and that's why you have the magic, man. The tires are magic because they do a lot of testing and they care about what they're doing.
Amen to that. And tell me what you've been doing, man, as a guy out here that, for so many of us motocrossers and just motorsports fans, they followed you throughout the years, man. Just so cool that that here you are still repping and riding and ripping it up, man, winning where you can.
Yeah, I mean, I just try to stay active as much as possible. I still loving my dirt bike.
A lot of people want to know, do you still ride?
I still ride, yeah, of course. I'm getting ready to go race World Vet this next weekend. So I race old guy races these days.
Yes, old guy racing.
But still, I'm just getting out on my dirt bike, and it's just therapeutic, And then, my family and I, we do a lot of side-by-siding. So Cowie's got the KRX. We get out. I've competed in hammers a couple times with the KRX.
How sick is that, man? That's got to be.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
To have that hammers.
When I first started rock crawling, I was like, there's no way you can get through this stuff. Of course, we have the Rockzillas on the car, which stick to the rocks, and the grab. It's like the old school stomper.
Yeah.
But
Stomper,
I mean, the rock sections you go to, and you're like, no way, we're getting through that. And then we do. So now I have 2 daughters. They're getting into it. They've been racing off road. They raced the Mint 400 last year. Been doing some local DP4 races, and so we're an off-road family. That's what we're doing. I'm riding dirt bikes, but we're also riding side-by-sides and
well, the side-by-side world's just blown up, man. I mean, there's so many people out there in side-by-side. Well, because you can't take the whole family, and and those things rip, man. People don't understand those things. When you're winging them, man, they're unbelievable. The fun you have in it, and you feel a little bit like Superman because you got a cage around you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't stick your arm out. Right here. I almost took my finger off.
if rolling over, hold on to the steering wheel.
Yes.
Do not stick hand out. Yeah. We've all done it, so you're not alone. But yeah, I mean, the side-by-sides are so fun. I'm doing a lot of that with my kids and my friends, and we go to Baja and we do these different races, and of course riding mountain bikes and riding dirt bikes, and just kind of loving all things off-road.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever think, dude, riding dirt bikes? Because you started out. We all know the story. Did you ever think riding dirt bikes would elevate you to now?
No.
Decades later.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to even think about, because when I first started riding dirt bikes and racing dirt bikes, I didn't race to like. I just love dirt bikes. I didn't race to be the Jeremy McGrath that everybody knows of now. It just kind of all happened. But would I have thought that I'd still be working in the industry in this like 30-year career of all this stuff? No way. It's provided me a crazy, unbelievable life that I never imagined.
A wild path.
And lots of access to a lot of stuff. And man, it's just been awesome. So stoked to be here.
You look back. I mean, obviously you got to miss it because there's certain. I mean, dude, you in that era were king of the hill, man. Like, it was so wild to watch those battles and those fierce back and forth you would have, with Emick and
we were big rivals, man.
Oh God,
cool.
yeah, it was wild. But I mean, to have that sort of command of that motorsport, for so many years,
right
dude.
There.
Yeah, dude. That's
it was something else. I look back on that now and I'm like, man, I can't even believe that was happening. But it was the world we were living in. The 90s were just blowing up. And like racing dirt bikes, no overhead, right? Just kind of just living crazy, having fun, and being a pro athlete. I mean, that's what dreams are made of. Right there. That's what dreams are made of. So, again, just such a fun life, and all because of the dirt bike. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah. And such a blessed career too, man, because you did it in a way. Yeah, anybody that rides dirt bikes, they're gonna get hurt.
Oh yeah, it's not really a matter of if, it's just when, right? I mean, I was really lucky enough to be able to have a pretty long and complete career without a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I broke my wrist once. Yeah, I did tweak my knee. I've done some stuff, but a lot less crashing than my buddies did, right? So I was able to make the races, finish the races, win the races, and it made all the difference in the world. So again, Supercross was so fun, and just being a pro dirt bike rider was pretty cool.
I mean, there's a certain swagger that goes with that, man. You're taming
it's pretty extreme.
You're a beast, dude. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people quite get, It's funny because when you're in the stands and you see guys doing triples or pulling out big doubles, or it's some motocross or Supercross, right? You see their crap, their discipline, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you look at it and, you guys make it look easy. And then you go out, like, I used to go ride the pro tracks, Thunder Valley in Denver after the pros went, and man, it was like, God, the ruts, this deep, the launches are, on the turn, sideways, coming out, and
big double, big jumps.
Yeah, it's wild to see the battleground.
Yeah, it's funny with being sports enthusiasts of a lot of things. We watch the best guys in the world do all their their sports, and all the best guys make it look easy. Then you go out there and try it. You're like, wow, okay, because sometimes it doesn't. You would think people like, oh, that looks really easy, but then you go try it.
Like,
I mean, Supercross in general is like crazy. The jumps are huge. They're right on top of each other, and I mean, if you crash these days, the bikes just tackle you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty extreme, and to be able to survive a career like that is pretty. I'm pretty thankful.
Yeah, man. And you use that to springboard into so many other motorsports. And now, with Maxxis, for example, you've helped them develop a tire brand that makes them above and beyond, what a lot of people are doing and finding out there. So it's kind of wild to watch that transition, watch the career just keep growing and developing and using your knowledge, man.
Yeah. Maxxis, I was lucky to springboard from Supercross and Motocross to off-road racing, to side-by-side racing, just kind of like, of course, I always rode BMX and then mountain bikes because that's where I started. But to be able to springboard into these other things and then to be repping a great company like Maxxis, I mean, we've had so much fun developing. Their motocross tires are so good, and we spend a lot of time doing that. But, they're just sort of coming on, like it's just kind of popping. But, I mean, the off-road truck tires are just the king of the hill. And I mean, Maxxis kind of has it covered when it comes to the broad of, I mean, you got moto, you got mountain bike, you got side-by-side, you got truck, you got off-road truck, you got rock crawl. I mean, they have everything. So we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. Yeah, we have a lot of fun using a lot of great tires. It's cool.
Man. And nothing like beating up on them and showing what they can do. But, for you, what a cool, again, SEMA 2023, what a cool stage for everybody to come up and, just sitting out there. It's got to be wild because people are walking by and like, showtime, baby, showtime, man.
It's funny these days still to get a little bit of that, at our older age these days. A lot of guys that used to watch Supercross are at SEMA, right? I mean, this is like off-road, moto, this type of stuff. So I'm seeing a lot of fun, fans and friends and stuff out here. It's great.
It's got to be cool, man.
Yeah,
all right, I got to ask you a little flashback.
Yep.
If you could take back, all right, what was your toughest, what do you think out of your whole career, what is the toughest race and or series you think you've ever done?
Well, for me, Supercross was sort of like, it came pretty easy in the beginning, right? Because I was like, I think through my BMX background, we had the timing, the jumps, all this stuff, and it was kind of like I really excelled at Supercross. So motocross for me was a little bit harder, more of a challenge, a lot more work. So when I finally accomplished getting to the top of the motocross outdoor world, that was pretty cool for me because I didn't, when I was younger, I was pretty lazy, I think. I didn't really want to work hard. Supercross came pretty easy. But then I started figuring out how to use the work and the hard work method with the talent. It equals greatness. So to be able to be indoor Supercross champ and motocross champ at the same time was a pretty big one. That's pretty cool.
Had to be huge, man.
Yeah, it was huge.
Back in the old days of crusty demons of dirt.
Right, shooting videos in the off season.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah, so wild, man. And now, you see this. It's got to be weird as you trend through that and look at that, like your kids, your family, and the legend that is Jeremy McGrath. That you leave here, your name will be synonymous in motocross as far as the Hall of Champions goes, man. Like. You got such a cool place there,
Yeah, I feel fortunate. I've made a lot of great relationships throughout my career of the motorcycle world. Now expands into the truck world. So it's been again, it's something I never dreamed of. Now on my off time, I'm building my van. I'm building these cool builds. I have my Ram dually at home that I'm putting 37s on it. Like in next week. So. Just doing really fun, cool projects these days with
a payoff partners. From all that hard work early on in your career.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, it's good. I got a decent little work schedule. It's nice.
What would you say was your hardest competitor to go against?
It had to be Jeff Emig. No, I mean Ricky's 10 years younger, right? So he was the one that
kind of coming up.
He come and took over as I was going out. So Ricky, I mean, I've known him since he's a little kid. His mom and dad and my mom and dad are buddies, and he's come out to California, just hung out with us when we were in Florida. We hang out with him. And so that was kind of the natural progression. But I mean, head-to-head rivals, Emig was pretty he was like my main rival, like we battled hard and didn't like each other necessarily so much. In the
There's
days,
a little bad blood.
Yeah, we were just ramming each other off the track.
Yeah,
and stuff
I was
like
gonna
that.
say, when you guys were fighting for it, you guys made it a little personal?
Oh, it was personal for sure. I mean, we've all grown up now and we got over that stuff, but it was personal. We had some of the same friend group, so it was tough on all the friends, right? Because it would like half the friends would be hanging with me, and then they'd switch over and hang with. So it was a weird little dynamic there, especially when he was living out in California. But you need a good rival to excel yourself, right?
It makes you
need
better.
someone to just be like, I'm beating the shit out of that guy because that's what I need to do. If you didn't have a guy that you didn't like or something like that, then you might not try as hard.
Right, exactly.
So it thrilled me every week to like just whoop his butt. That's what I was going for. So everyone needs a great sports rival,
Amen, man. Well, that competition breeds, another level and a championship, sort of persona in you. So,
absolutely.
Well, man, dude. All right. So, looking at the camera, any words of wisdom to give future racers, motocrossers, side by side? Really, anybody want to get behind the wheel, man? Give them some wisdom.
Well, here's the thing. I think first of all, you got to have fun, right? Because that's why we all do this stuff. And if you're having fun and you're passionate about it, you're going to be good at it. So
there you go.
I'd say you just on the dirt bike, take it slow. On the side by side, mash the throttle. Ready to go.
Jeremy McGrath, motorsports icon, legend, and all things he does, man. Just, hey, absolute honor and pleasure to have a few minutes with you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Have a great SEMA. It's awesome.
We'll do, you guys. All right, back with the podcast. As that wrapped up, I was almost going to challenge him to a race, but he told me he's still throttling, man, so I didn't want none of it.
Yeah, no doubt he's still in the game, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, man, he's
had
still
30
throttling.
years of just tearing it up in every type of class and vehicle, and so that might have been a tough one.
Man.
It's probably smart.
I swear, just looking at him, just, dude on the sidewalk, just, squaring him up, I'm like, man, I could definitely take that dude on a dirt bike. He would just lather me, man. He would just lather me and roost. It would just be awful.
Let you out, man. Let you out.
Yeah, no doubt. But it'd be so cool to ride with that guy. I've been on track after they get done, as a guy that raced a couple, as an amateur back in the day, they would come through Colorado and we get the track on Sunday after they raced on Saturday. And those ruts, bro, 3-4 foot deep. It was unbelievable how they would leave the track.
It'd be cool to ride with them.
Loved it,
I'd get right out of the gate, we'd be like side by side, for like about a foot and a half. And then it'd be like, go, dude, go. And then, he'd come around behind me after he laps me. I'd be like, we'd have another 2 or 3 feet side by side, and then I'd just be like, go. It'd be so cool,
It would be
Catch
so
him
cool.
on each lap as he laps me.
Yeah. But look, there's all kinds of people lapping all kinds of other people at SEMA. It really did have action everywhere. And Kevin and I got to walk through the aisles, see some really cool cars, really cool builds. So right out of the gate, you didn't have the big three, something that we're used to seeing. Kevin, you and I noticed that, especially, Ford wasn't there in their normal representation. Toyota took over their footprint, and they had a lot of cool Toyotas there.
They did.
Mopar wasn't there, which I'm making my way over to that North Hall right out the gate. And Chevrolet wasn't there. Some performance stuff, but it really didn't take away from the amazing builds and the crazy aftermarket and what the aftermarket is doing right now. So just top of mind, did you have particular builds that you were just blown away by? And if so, what were the top 3?
Well, we talked about that Charger. I mean, that thing was just perfect. It was sweet. It still looked
69
classic.
Charger.
You can take an old car and you can modify it so much that it tries to look like a new car, and it just loses some of its nostalgia and whatever. And that was just a perfect blend. Hell-fit powertrain, right? Just cleaned up, just beautified, perfect paint. Everything's straight as heck. Nice interior. Looks like a car you would want to drive, except that you know what the price tag is. So that was definitely one of my favorites. What was a weird one, also by the Ring brothers, we got to check out, was that Rolls Royce. They built a Rolls Royce on a completely new, rolling chassis, LS based, moved some stuff around, re-interiored the thing. Not the kind of car I'd want, but I'm sure that guy was pretty happy about it. I wouldn't say top of my list of favorites, but it was an interesting one. It shows you the full spectrum of SEMA.
Yeah. But you know what it showed me? It showed me how cool the Ring brothers are, because here are the Ring brothers chatting to us about the build of the car. And you gotta imagine those guys are insanely busy. I imagine their phones is popping all the time. Guys want questions answered, want to pick their brains, so they don't have time to talk to everybody. And he makes that point very clear. We don't talk to every customer because every customer would say, "Hey man, I got a '66 Dodge Charger, and let me tell you about my dad when he drove that car." They just don't have time for it. However, the lady who was taking the phone call that day had this particular person who wanted that Rolls Royce had him on speakerphone, and as the guys were walking through, the guy that owned that car said, "Look, I'm just gonna be honest." He tried several times to reach out to him, and the lady said, "Well, they're not in right now, or they're busy. They don't take normal calls." And he said, "Well, I'll just be honest." He said, quote, "I sold my company, and I got a lot of money to spend, so I sure would like to talk to him."
Wait, let me take that call.
Yeah, he's like, "You know what? I'm going to take that call." He said, "Just put that call through in my office. Let me have a word with him." And they were on the phone for like an hour, something that rarely happens. But the guy was so cool, and he did. He sold a big company. And he belonged to a Rolls Royce club. Now, that is something spectacular. It's one thing to show up in a Rolls Royce, a modern Rolls Royce with that antique look, and be one of many, right? Rolls Royce cars are, they're insane anyway. You rarely see them. But to show up to a place that has a number of them, well, that's extraordinary. But to have one that had that Detroit Speed chassis, all the crazy performance and power numbers, the 0-60 numbers, the handling, but still they kept every amenity and every extra you could ever imagine, complete with a gray Poupon mustard bottle in the back of it.
Of course.
Which I thought was the perfect icing on the cake.
Yeah, so that was an odd one. But what jumped out for you? What was kind of unique?
So, I saw a number of Challengers I thought were really slick and cool and kudos. And, I'm a Dodge guy. Not a lot of Chargers. I thought that was surprising. But for me, so this is going to pain people, but I love some of the BMWs. I love some of the Mercedes. I love some of the wild European stuff that you see just getting, just dialed in and dialed up with big engines, massive power, crazy performance.
I'm with you 100%, man. I really, when we talk about it so often, I love how the hot rod spectrum has blown up, because you couldn't take a lot of those cars and really give them much credence when they came with, such a tiny little 4-cylinder engine or even a straight 6.
Right.
But once we came out with boost, mega boost, the aftermarket's really jumped on board, powertrain swaps. Now you've got horsepower, through the roof. Whatever you want, whatever vehicle platform, you can throw 1,000 horsepower at it, 600, 800, 2,000. It doesn't matter. Like, now you can make anything out of anything. And then when you start throwing on some flares, some body work, big tires, drive lines, big brakes, the aftermarket again supporting all this stuff. And, go back 20 years, we started overhauling show and stuff. Moving sheet metal, moving metal, really fabricating things wasn't so commonplace. But now, 20 years later, right, this last 10 years or so, people have capabilities that they've never had to build insano stuff. The great tools that we can have, just wow. So I fully agree with you. I think all these different makes and models that were just, little sleepers can now be completely imagined into something that'll smoke the doors off you if you're not paying attention. So there's a lot of new flavors going on,
and a lot of reflavoring or rebuilding in a new way. Some of the older school, like I saw a few more 57 Chevys than I think I've seen there in a number of years, but they were different, right? Still had the kind of mothership of hot rod and what I call 57 Chevy. They still had the lines, but man, they were doing wild and weird things with it. They were dropping them. They were making them really rad pro touring stuff. They were putting, crazy cool skirts into the fender lips and the side moldings, and just doing some really cool stuff. They were getting rid of the fin, the shark fin on it, doing something custom paint or something wild in there. And it was cool to see those cars, sort of have a resurgence and just like we were talking about, a lot of European stuff, a lot of old Nissan and Toyota stuff was popping off.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you take a 57 Chevy, we're used to seeing them in some fashion that reminds you of the movie Grease. And, fast forward again, people's imaginations, stance, tires, slight movements in the metal and the shapes and whatever. And it has a whole different persona, a different vibe, a different feel to it. So it's really fun to see all these progressions of style and, the take on it, the stances on them. They become different vehicles.
Hey, and I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the Lamborghini with a Cummins diesel in it.
Oh, I don't think I saw that one except on social, but I heard about it.
No, you did. Hot Shots. It was at the Hot Shots secret deal.
You're right.
That's right. I drug you over and made you look at it. Right beside the fake Tesla sounded mufflers.
That one had my brain.
Tell me that was bananas.
Grinding. I remember talking to those guys for a second, and they were talking about Insano performance, which I totally believe. But I'm
1,200 horsepower.
Yeah, that's one of those ones I don't know I would go there. But if somebody wants to do their thing, and they're writing the checks for it and paying with their sweat equity, sure. But who would think, right?
Yeah. Wow, man. And again, just an overwhelming number of trucks and so forth. Really, what was cool and what was kind of different this year, patina's been a thing. And I think obviously unbelievable paint jobs still just bring the house down. That Charger was something that they were hitting with a microfiber in the Ring Brothers tent every 2 seconds because it was so mirrored, Mm-hmm. But there were a lot of people that were showing up with incredible drivetrains, incredible performance upgrades, unbelievable interiors and amenities, but the cars were just rusted buckets. Like, for some reason, rust in old school is in. Even dirt. I think the more dirt you can pile on some of the cars and say, hey, it's a survivor, the happier some people looking at it will be.
It's interesting because there's a big wave for a while of rat rods. And, you'd see just rat rods everywhere, and there'd be sections of them. And I haven't noticed that lately. And I feel like it's transitioned a little bit because there is a pushback. I don't want to spend 30 grand on paint. Totally get it. I just want to have fun with my car.
Discount paint job.
I get it, So rat rods were kind of dare to be different, do something cool, wild, mean in your face, and also not spend 30, 50 grand on paint and, another year of your life or whatever. Right. But I think, maybe some of that's transitioned into, the love of patina because it's the same, overlap of, let me just take something cool. Let me do something cool with it and not make it so darn shiny and new and, over the top expensive that I can't go enjoy it.
If it's scratched up, dented up, it's got a little rust in it, and you get it banged up when you're driving, it doesn't hurt as bad. So I feel like, if it's got a little rust in it, the paint's not perfect on it. It just allows people to drive it, drive it the way they really want to drive it.
Oh, man, I'm all about it. I'm a big promoter of, run anything you're building and not be so afraid of it. But I get it. You spend a lot of money and you just, door dings and all the dumb stuff, all the rock chips and everything, So, but think about it. It's interesting because an old rusty car in stock form, you just kind of walk right by. But all of a sudden, an old rusty car with some kind of killer chassis under it, brakes, and 800 horsepower plus, and you're like, damn, that's a cool car. It looks the same, but what's under it and the fun factor it's bringing changes everything. Oh, yeah. And it's great, man. I love it.
It's got the Riz, baby. It's got the Riz.
That's right.
No doubt, man. So definitely, if you're out there building, headed towards that goal, keep it up, keep grinding. Check out our show. Hopefully you'll pick up a tip or two, which is always airing on weekends on Motor Trend TV. And also Motor Trend Plus, which is their streaming format. Make sure you check it out there. Thanks to our producer, Scoop, executive producer, Bob Ecker. He is Kevin Bird, and I'm Willie B for the Two Guys Garage podcast.
Yeah, don't forget to check out our website, twoguysgarage.com. Check us out on social. We're everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Two Guys Garage. The Two Guys Garage podcast. It's copyright 2024. Britain Productions Incorporated. All rights reserved. All right, guys, hope you loved our little recap of SEMA. We got more coming at you, so make sure to follow our future episodes. We'll catch you on the next Two Guys Garage podcast.